Where is the price of gold and silver heading? We all want to know. I've got a lot of interesting information I want to share with you in this video. Major news stories, major factors that I think shed some light on where we can expect the prices to head as we get into the end of the year and into next year. Hey, it was looking pretty good. We've had a pretty good couple weeks in the precious metals. Today was a little brutal, right? I think this Peanuts cartoon sums it up nicely. We're feeling like Charlie Brown.
Besides, she wouldn't try to trick me on a traditional holiday. This time I'm gonna kick that football clear to the moon! Isn't it peculiar, Charlie Brown, how some traditions just slowly fade away?
The only difference is I feel like we got a little bit of our foot on the ball this time. I think things are changing. I think that we're getting to that point where the pendulum starts to swing back towards solid support for the price of gold and silver. A quick recap of the week. Gold closed out at $1,791 per ounce. It was actually up about 1.5–2% for the week and only about 12 or 13% away from its all-time high. So gold is performing pretty darn well. Now silver was down 2% for the week, closing out at $19.84. So not a great week for silver, but not devastating nonetheless. The mining stocks, the GDXJ, closed out at $33.74, pretty much even for the week. So the mining stocks as an aggregate remained about even for the week. My portfolio took a little bit of a hit because I'm heavily invested in Equinox Gold, but you probably don't want to hear me cry about that now, do you? The SIL ETF, the Silver Miner ETF, was also about even for the week, closing out at $26.24. The S&P 500 closed out at $41.45. It also was roughly even for the week. Overall sentiment in the market, overall market has improved. In the mining stocks, it got a little better, but again, on Friday, today, with these jobs numbers, we got kicked in the face yet again. If you're invested in the precious metal mining stocks, you know they're all pretty close to their 52-week lows. They're coming off a period where they were the most oversold in the last 7 years. We've still got a lot of runway ahead of us, room for improvement, even room for exponential growth within the mining stocks, but we're going to need a strong gold and silver price for that. And what would need to happen for gold and silver to have a strong upswing in price? Well, one thing that could happen in this upside down world in which we live in is if the CPI, the inflation number that comes out next week, if it's down, and I suspect that it will be, that would actually, in an upside down world, be good for the price of precious metals, because that would mean people would think the Fed is winning the fight on inflation and may not need to increase rates as much as they have in the past. Traditionally, right, inflation's good for the price of precious metals, and over a long period of time that's true. But when you start dealing with this Fed reaction stuff, which is the reality of what we're dealing with right now, if we get a super high inflation number, that'll mean the Fed would have more ground to be even more hawkish, which would, in a short-term basis, be not good for our friends gold and silver. Well, if I didn't tie your brain in a knot with that last concept, here's a simple one for you. Jim Cramer, none other than Jim Cramer, came out this week saying that he's bullish on gold. And hey, look, Jim Cramer's not always wrong. And in this case, we know he's going to be right. So we'll take his support and welcome him to the gold bug, silver bug community. Also of note, another name brand financial celebrity, Jeffrey Gundlach, said something I think that was very poignant this week. He said, everybody's arguing about whether or not we're in a recession or not, okay? The reality is what people should be talking about is the fact that we're in stagflation. And as I've repeated ad nauseum, stagflation is very fertile soil for the price of silver and gold to prosper and grow. And I don't want to turn this into a complicated macroeconomic discussion, but we did get news this week that consumer debt is now at an all-time high. There is so much debt: government debt, consumer debt, corporate debt, municipal debt. This situation we're in this country, that is going to devalue the dollar over the long term and result in higher gold and silver prices. The other thing about debt, think about this. This is not that hard to understand. The more debt, the more leverage either an individual has, a company has, or a country has, the more drastic any minor change that occurs can be to the overall picture. It'd be like if you went to a casino and instead of bringing $1,000 to play with, you brought $1,000 cash, but you borrowed $4 from your brother-in-law, promising to pay him back 5 hours later, and you bet 5 times as big when you were there. It wouldn't take long for your $1,000 in equity to become worthless. When there's a ton of debt, minor little changes can make massive repercussions occur within the economy. We also heard this week a statistic that between 2015 and 2021, silver and gold production from the mines were down 7-8%. So important for us to remember that there's two sides that determine the price of precious metals: the demand side, but the supply side. And the supply side is shrinking. That's a good thing for those of us who are invested in producing mines and physical gold and or silver. And let's not forget, our friends at Goldman Sachs are maintaining their $2,500 forecast for the price of gold by the end of the year. They better hurry up and get working on that one. Also, 70% of Americans earning $100,000 per year or more report that they're having a hard time paying their bills because of the inflation that we're having. Next week, we'll get news on inflation numbers, the CPI report. That will have a major impact on the markets overall and on the price of the precious metals. I'm forecasting that inflation's going to tick down. And that will actually, again, in our upside down world in which we live, be good for the price of the precious metals. One thing for sure, we're going to find out. Also, I'll be here with you through it all. We'll help navigate through these choppy waters we encounter being investors in gold, silver, and the precious metal mining stocks. Hey, if you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your time. Thumbs up, turn on the bell notifications, and until next time, you be well.